Man, what a night. SmackDown was just pure, uncut adrenaline. We saw everything from a jaw-dropping dive that had the whole arena on its feet, to a brawl that literally cleared out the entire locker room. Every single second was an explosion, and it all led to a main event that pushed one man past his breaking point. So let's break down exactly how all this controlled chaos went down.
You know, in the world of SmackDown, every single moment is a massive risk.
And you better believe, every single victory is earned the hard way.
It's not just about surviving, it's about building a legacy. So, how did this week's chaos shake up the road to WrestleMania? All right, let's get into it.
On SmackDown, you've got to understand, the fight doesn't always kick off when the bell rings. Nah. Sometimes the deepest cuts, the real damage, it starts with words. It builds these rivalries that get so personal, the only place they can be settled is inside that ring.
And that brings us to the, let's say, very personal situation between Kit Wilson and the powerhouse Obafemi. I mean, their war of words went somewhere I don't think any of us expected. A public poetry slam. Kit Wilson fired the first shot, and trust me, it was loaded with lyrical venom.
Oh, but Obafemi's crew? They weren't just gonna let that slide. They did something brilliant. They turned Kit's own art form right back on him. They used poetry to mock him, to remind everyone how he got physically dominated just last week. Talk about a brutal counterattack.
And that was the tipping point. That was it. Kit Wilson dropped all the metaphors, all the rhymes, and he went straight for the jugular. A direct, nasty insult that just made this whole thing boil over. The poetry was done. This was a vendetta.
And this just goes to show you, right? In WWE, words always have consequences. Obafemi, insulted and absolutely furious, challenged Kit to settle it where poems don't matter, but fists do. So next week, they're going to finally discuss their feelings one-on-one.
Now, the verbal warfare didn't stop there. Over in the women's division, the stakes are just unbelievably high. You've got this tag team feud that's crashing head-on into the road to WrestleMania. Because Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton, they don't just want the tag titles. They're looking at that career-making spot in the Elimination Chamber.
I mean, listen at this. The confidence is just oozing off the challengers. Tiffany Stratton puts it plain and simple. I am the upgrade. They see themselves as the future, and they think the champs are nothing more than a speed bump.
But the champions, oh, they have a totally different philosophy. While Nia and Tiffy are all about individual glory, the champs are all about unity. Their strategy is simple. We work together and we outlast everybody else. It's that classic battle of ambition versus cohesion.
Okay, so beyond those top-tier rivalries, you've got the heart and soul of SmackDown, the mid-card. This is where every match is like a brutal audition. You have all these hungry competitors just clawing their way up the ladder, because one big win, one single victory, can change your entire career.
And speaking of making a statement, how about Trick Williams? In a crazy high-flying match against the legendary Rey Fenix, he unleashes that finisher of his, the trick shot knee strike. It was a perfectly timed counter that, I love how the commentator said it, turned his opponent completely inside out. A massive win for a guy on the rise.
Now this is what you call veteran instinct. Kiana James tries to interfere, right? Creates total chaos at ringside. But in the middle of all that mess, Alexa Bliss sees an opening. She cuts James off, neutralizes the threat, and then boom, a stunning Sister Abigail for the win. She literally turned her opponent's plan into her own victory. Just brilliant.
All right, so from all that mid-card mayhem, we move to the top of the mountain. This is where the lights are the brightest, the pressure is just crushing, and championships are on the line. This is where legacies get cemented in gold.
And speaking of legacies, Jade Cargill just hit a huge milestone. 100 dominant days as champion. And how did she celebrate? In the most unbelievable way possible. A romantic, candlelit Valentine's dinner at ringside. All set up by Dominic Mysterio. What an absolutely audacious move from a champ who knows she's on top. But that celebration, yeah, it didn't last long. Because her challenger, Grace, came out, and this matchup was a true clash of titans. You have the undisputed dominant power of Jade Cargill on one side, and on the other, the raw, beast mode strength of Grace. It was a real question. Whose power was going to win out? And the finish, oh my goodness, the finish was breathtaking. Grace gets the champion up for her finisher beast mode, but Jade lands on her feet, hits a massive pump kick, and then, I still can't believe this,
hoists Grace up with one arm and hits the Jaded for the win. An absolutely spectacular display of power to keep her title. Wow.
And finally, that brings us to the absolute peak of the night's chaos, the main event. Look, this wasn't just a match, it was a series of explosions. It was where all the simmering tensions and shocking moments just collided in the most spectacular way possible.
So, the anarchy kicked off when the MFTs, this totally destructive faction, tried to take over the ring, and that forced the entire locker room to pour out to ringside, starting this gigantic brawl. I mean, it was this rare moment where you saw bitter enemies standing shoulder to shoulder to fight off a bigger threat. But just when all that physical chaos started to die down, a different kind of threat emerged. The lights flickered, and you could just feel the creepy presence of the Wyatt Six. They delivered this cryptic message that sent an actual chill through the whole arena. The fight might have been over, but something much darker was now looming.
But the single most dramatic moment of the entire night was this. Drew McIntyre hits Cody Rhodes with a Claymore. Then, in just a moment of pure, calculated cruelty, he drags an unconscious Sami Zayn on top of Cody for the pin. The ref hits the mat. 1, 2, it's over. It has to be. But somehow, some way Cody kicks out. Unbelievable. The heart, the resilience, just incredible. And after surviving what should have been the end, Cody Rhodes rallied. He fought through the absolute agony, battled back against that unhinged Scottish psychopath, and in a stunning turn of events, he hit his finisher, the Palavea, and snatched victory right from the jaws of defeat. So look, from poetry slams to championship power plays to just pure main event survival, every single moment tonight felt like another critical step on that chaotic road to WrestleMania. We saw heart, we saw hatred, we saw impossible alliances. And after a night like this, the real question isn't just about who won tonight. It's about who has proven they have the sheer will to seize their moment and define their legacy when it matters most.